Hello everybody and welcome back, and in this tutorial we will finally start covering some of the basics of the Nmap program. Now, as I said before, the Nmap is a really important tool that you will use all the time, so it is essential for you to at least learn some of the basics of that program. Now, before we begin, I want to say that Nmap, it is a network mapper. It is basically a free and open source tool mostly used for vulnerability scanning and network discovery. You can also use the Nmap to identify some of the devices or all of the devices that are running on your local network, also as discovering hosts that are on or offline at the moment and discovering services they offer on some of the ports that they have open. And also you can go as far as discovering what version of software are they running on their open ports. Now, Nmap can be used to scan multiple hosts. It doesn't have to be only one host that you scan. It is basically working by just sending the raw packets to the system ports. Now, as it does that, it basically listens to responses and determines whether the ports are closed or open, or filtered in some way, for example with a firewall. Now, you can use different types of protocols. In Nmap, you can use TCP, UDP, ICMP, and SCTP. Now, as I said before, Nmap is a network mapper. It can also be used to detect the operating system that is running on the machine that you're scanning, and also discover the vulnerabilities if there are for that particular version of the software they're running on an open port. Now, a system, your and my PC, can have 65,535 TCP and UDP ports, but Nmap will by default only scan the most commonly used 1,000 ports. Now you can change that as well, so you can scan all the 65,000 ports, but it will probably take a lot longer than the regular 1,000 ports. Now, before we begin using Nmap, I just want to show you first of all how you can run it, which is basically just open your terminal in Kali Linux. It is already pre-installed in it, and you can just type here Nmap. Now you will see that it will print out a bunch of the options that we will cover, but before we do that, I just want to give you a more detailed explanation on the IP addresses, because you will be using them extensively in here. Now, with an IP address, if you know someone's IP address, you can basically do a lot with it. For example, let's open up our Firefox and let us type right here the major IP. You will click on the first website that this one opens, and we'll basically just copy any IP address that we find, and we will try to find out the most information we can about that IP. So let me just load up the website. Here we go. Now click on the first one, which is major IP addresses blocks by country -nearsoft. So it is on the Nearsoft website. Here you can basically click any country you want. Let's go with the Australia. Not really a smart choice since it is the most far away country from me, but and here just pick any IP address you want. Let's say I pick this one, which is 14.192.160.0. If I copy this IP address and I go to my terminal, let me just clear the screen right here, and I use a tool called NSLOOKUP. As you can see, with this tool I will need to specify the IP address that I just copied, which is this one, and it should return the name of that web server in return. So if I type here, right here, it will say server can find. Okay, so it cannot find that one. Not a big deal. Let us just copy the other one and check if that one works instead. So we just paste the other IP address and it won't work. Now, let me just show you on the IP address that will work for sure. So if you type here NSLOOKUP, google.com, it will return the Google's IP address with this command. As you can see right here, the address of Google will be 172.217.19.110. Now you can do the same in reverse. So if you type here nslookup, and instead of typing the google.com, you type here the IP address of google.com, you will see in return what is the name of that IP address. Now this is taking some time. Let us just wait a little bit before we close it. It says timeout, so let me try it once again. So nslookup, and then I paste here the IP address of Google. Yeah, it will probably time out once again. So let me just type here nslookup, and let's try facebook.com. Here we can see that the Facebook's IP address is 32.13.84.36. So let's try in reverse. So let me just type here nslookup and then the Facebook's IP address, and hopefully it will return the facebook.com in the output. No, weird, because it says no servers could be reached. Let me just try to ping it. Maybe, but we are on the internet, so it should work. Not really sure why it doesn't work at the moment, but it doesn't really matter. Instead, we can try other command, which can be also used to get some of the informations from an IP address. Now, that tool that we will use is called curl. Now, for example, let me show you. If you type here curl IP info, let me just see, yeah, .io, and then slash. Let me just find the slash. Where is it? There it is. And then you paste the Facebook's IP address right here, and you click on it. You press enter. Basically, it will say that the IP that we typed here, host name is facebook.com, city not specified, region not specified, country is specified, and location is also given in coordinates. Organization, as it says right here, is Facebook. So, since nslookup didn't work, we will use curl. So let me just look up the Google's IP address once again, so we can see the curl command with the Google's IP address. So let me just type here curl ipinfo.io and then slash, and then you type here the Google's IP address. And as you can see, we also get the host name, we also get the organization Google, location also given in the coordinates, and the country US. So let us just now choose any of these IP addresses right here, but let's not go with the Australia, let's go with the Belgium. And here we just copy any IP address. Let's copy this one. Let me try the nslookup, maybe it will work right now. Probably not, but let's give it one more try. Server can find, okay, doesn't matter. We will go on with the curl. So we copy the random IP address that we do not know anything about, and we just type here ipinfo.io slash, and then we paste the IP address that we copied, which should belong to Belgium. So as we see right here, we are giving the IP, the city, the region, the country, location, also given in the coordinates, postal code, organization, which we can confirm since it says for this IP address right here that the Mac Telecom, and we get the same result right here. Now, you can see that you can find a lot of stuff with simply just looking up the IP address. And there is also one more thing you can do in the search engine. You can just type here IP locator. And we can use the same IP address that we copied from here, which is this one, 80.91.144.0, and we will just pick the first site, which will hopefully locate our IP address. If we type here paste, and we go on the IP lookup, we can see right here that we get the location of the IP, which is Belgium, and it is correct. We also get the latitude and longitude, which we can check if it if it matches this one. So let us just go down here. It is the same, basically it is the same in every decimal. So this program is working. So let me just see if we can check out on a map where it is located. But we can just simply go on any Google map and just type here these coordinates, and we will find out where this IP address is physically located. Now that we saw what we can do with the IP addresses, we can open up our Nmap for now on. So if you just type here Nmap, you will see again a bunch of those options, but we will start off with these examples right here. So as you can see right here, they put an example nmap -v-a scanme.nmap.org. Now it is important to mention that Nmap scanning on the device you do not own or do not have permission to scan is illegal in most of the countries, I believe. So you should not be scanning any website or any device that you do not have permission to scan. And it can also be very noisy, so you can be caught by firewall. So you are not anonymous with this, especially not with the basic commands. Now later on we can cover how to be more quiet while using Nmap and scanning, but you should only be doing it if you have permission to scan to. Now if you go on to this website, you will notice that if we copy it, let me just open Firefox once again, and we will paste that website, you will see that they give us the permission to use that website in order to practice with Nmap. So let us just wait for this to load up, and it should be prompting us with a message that will basically said, go ahead and scan me, as you can see right here. So here it says, hello and welcome to scanme.nmap.org. We set up this machine to help folks learn about Nmap and also to test and make sure that their Nmap installation is working properly. You are authorized to scan this machine with Nmap or other port scanners. Try not to hammer on the servers too hard. A few scans in a day is fine, but don't scan 100 times a day. Or use this site to test your SSH brute force password cracking tool. So we basically have permission to scan this. Now don't overscan it, as it says right here, don't scan it over 100 times a day. Basically you can scan it a few times a day. So we will just type here nmap -v -a scanme.nmap.org. But before we run this command, I just want to check out or to show you what does -v and -a do. Now -a, as we can see right here, enable OS detection, version detection, script scanning, and trace route. While -v, I'm not sure if it is even listed here. It possibly is and possibly not. Here it is, increase verbosity level. It basically means it will print out what it is doing in the process of scanning. So if you type here -vb, it will print out even more information in the process of scanning. Now, we won't be using any of these options at the moment. We will just type here nmap scanme.nmap.org. And this can take time. Any scan can take time from few seconds to multiple hours, depending on multiple things, such as the speed of your connection and also the location of the target that you're scanning, and also the number of targets that you're scanning. As we said before, you can scan multiple targets with Nmap, and that will take longer than scanning just one target. If you just press the arrow upwards right here, we can see what percentage of scan is finished. So we can see that 7.4% is done, and here it will give us an information that one host is. So for example, if you were to scan 100 hosts and here it says 22 hosts up, it means that the Nmap retrieved 22 hosts to be online or up and working. Now, as you can see, the Nmap scan result is finished, and here we see a bunch of ports. Some of them are filtered and some of them are open. As we said, the filtered ones could be protected in some of the way, such as with a firewall, while the open ones are basically just open, such as HTTP, as we saw basically when we visited this website. We basically use the HTTP port, which is open, so we were able to connect to this website. There are other ports that are also open, such as SSH port, which is the 22 always, TCP port. We can see some of the hard ports open, such as 9929 and 31337, which is for Allied, and nping-echo, and other ports are just filtered. So this is just a basic scan with Nmap. We will continue with some of the more advanced scans in the next lecture, and I hope I see you there. Bye.